All right, hello, I'm Piotr. I work as a product manager on the Scala Free core team. And I am to talk about the -- power flag in Scala CLI. So basically the genesis of this talk is that pretty much a couple times every month someone asks me what is this flag even for and why are some features hidden behind it. So to cover all of the future and past questions, maybe some of these people will be on this talk. Let's go through it. For those of you who are less familiar with it, Scala CLI is a command language for interacting with Scala, doing all things related to it, compiling, running, testing, prototyping, and whatever else you want from the command line. As of Scala 3.5.0, so as of last year, it has become the official Scala runner. So if you install the language, it is hidden under the Scala command on your terminal. And it is not quite a build tool, even though everyone uses it as such, and some people even go above and beyond and do use it as a full build tool with scripting and so on. But what we are going to talk about is this. So let me start with a simple question. How many of you have seen this warning? Not that many. Okay. All right. How many of you have actually passed the -- power command or using? Okay, not so many. Then I'm hoping you will learn some. Why do we even need it? An example of a feature that requires the -- power option is package, and we have a number of features hidden inside it, subcommands, options, and other things that require it. But why do we even need it, and where has it come from? So, as I mentioned, as of last year, we finally implemented CIP 46. So this is something that passed through the Scala improvement process, went through the committee, and went through a number of improvements. And one of those requirements that we had to go through is to, well, not overwhelm you, our precious users, with features, because too much isn't good either, right? As a result of which, because Scala CLI functioned as a tool before that, and we had a number of features that, well, were deemed potentially overwhelming. Some of those were to be hidden behind the -- power, potentially to be included in the standard later. As a result of that, we have a bit of an awkward separation of three kinds of feature in Scala CLI. We have the stable stuff, which doesn't require power. You probably are using it already. How many of you are using the CLI? Okay, good. So we probably are using the first category. This is the stable production-ready stuff that if it doesn't work, you should shout at me that I should fix it. Then there's the restricted stuff, which requires -- power, but it's also stable and production-ready, if you ask me, and you should be using it as well as soon as you find out about it. It's just we didn't push it through the bureaucracy, and we didn't convince CIP and other people that the user base is ready for it. And then there is the experimental stuff that is not stable. It prints a warning, probably, or more of them, and it might not work as you expect, but you should still use it because I need your feedback if I'm to spend time on it, or if I'm to fix it all the more, right? So how should you start using the hidden power features? There are three ways. You can pass the -- power flag. You can pass it anywhere in your command, straight after the launcher call or after all of the other options, wherever. It will work. Then you can set up an environment variable, which is Scala CLI power, and set it to true in your environment. And finally, you can use the config subcommand and set the global configuration for Scala CLI, the power key to true. All of these are equivalent pretty much. I am going to try to cover these. We have more, and there are no particular reasons why this is the subset. It's the subset that I curated for you for today. We will see if I manage to go through all of this. I will try. So, first one, fix. With each, I will ask how many of you have even heard of it. How many have heard of fix? Okay. So this is a rather fresh addition. Well, that's a lie. Fix has been with us for a long while, but there hasn't been much in it. ScalaFix has been added very recently by an external contribution, and it is nothing else than ScalaFix integration. So you can run ScalaFix rules in your Scala CLI projects with the fix command. It is enabled automatically, so actually the -- ScalaFix flag is mostly there so that you can disable it to run other stuff. And it runs pretty much similarly to how you would use it with SBD or any other build tool. So yeah, here's a simple example. We have a simple Scala file which has an unused variable value. We have the remove unused rule for ScalaFix and the ScalaFix configuration. And when we run it, of course, we need the linting flag for unused, passed as a directive here. When we run it, ScalaFix will remove it. You have to trust me that the output doesn't have that value. And then there is the proud name of built-in rules. The plural is proud, but we actually only have one rule. And that is to migrate all of your using directives into a single file. So a little background here. You are probably familiar with the using directive syntax in Scala CLI, which we use to configure the project right there in your source files. I'm not sure how many of you know that you can actually spread those among your files. So let's say your Scala CLI project has, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 files. And with each of those, you add some directive. And all of that creates one single configuration when you run them together. But it is a bit unwieldy, right? Because one piece of configuration is here, one is there. You forgot what you added earlier. Maybe you override a piece of the configuration. And when you run such a project with the using directive spread, you will also get a warning from us that, hey, your directives are all over the place. Maybe you should unify them in one spot. So if you want to, you can do that with ScalaFix. Again, this is enabled by default, so you can use the oh, there's a bug in my example. No, there isn't. I just disabled ScalaFix here. So when you run the built-in rules, which are enabled by default, all of this will land in the project.scala file. For this example, I have the using Scala free and using JVM in one. These directives are in the first Scala file. The second one has some compiler options and a dependency on Lihai's OSLib. And then the third one is a .test.scala, so it's in the test scope, and that has a dependency on munit, right? And after we run the built-in rules, we get a project.scala like this. So the resulting directives are saved into the project.scala input, which is included in your project root directory. And the directives in it are separated by scope. So the main scope stuff is the Scala version, JVM, compiler options here, and the dependency on OSLib. And then there's the test scope where the dependency on munit lands. You can notice that even though the munit dependency was just a regular directive for dependencies, it's included in a .test.scala source that is in the test scope. So for that to be declared in a main scope file, as project.scala is, it has to use the test.deb key, and Fix will detect that for you. Next, the -- cross option. Who's familiar with it? Yeah, I thought so. This is probably not very well known, but it's super useful for minimizing issues on the compiler and other stuff, I guess. So you might notice in this example, you can actually pass multiple versions to the using Scala directive. And you can also pass multiple platforms to the using platform directive. And when you pass cross with it, it will get compiled, built against all of the combinations of that. So with this example, we have 3, which simplifies to the latest next, 372, 3.lts, which simplifies to 336, and 213, which is, yeah, 213.16 is the latest 213 line. And all of that is built against the JVM and Scala.js. And we compile it in a single command. Now, the aim for this is still considered experimental, But I would say it's generally stable. It's just before it becomes restricted, we would like this to be working correctly with other subcommands. So with run, and with package, and with publish. So when you run with cross, you should actually run on each of these platforms. When you package, you should produce an artifact for each pairings of this. And when you publish, likewise, right? There is actually a PR that is in progress for running. So hopefully this will reach you soon, and this will then become restricted. Next, --jmh. Anyone? Okay, so this is nothing else than a simple integration with the Java micro benchmark harness. It is experimental in that I didn't see it tested anywhere in production, but I actually don't know how to break it. So when I get more feedback, it might be advanced. What it does is basically provide all of the dependencies for the Java micro benchmark harness when you want to run your benchmarks. It overrides the main class and does the whole bootstrap for you. So you might notice that this example doesn't have any extra directives. As soon as you pass the --jmh flag to your run subcommand, you will be able to run it. So the example is rather simple. You run 3 iterations in the average time mode, and the way you run it looks like this. So I just run the project and pass --jmh, and you can see the benchmarks being run. This is experimental in the capacity that the syntax is definitely not what we'd like, because right now it's difficult to keep your benchmarks alongside your project. We probably would like to have a separate subcommand, probably named bench or something like that, which would let you keep your benchmark in a separate scope, or at least to be run totally separately, just like tests are, for example. Right now it's built into the run subcommand, which might be unwieldy, but yeah, go ahead and try it out. Package. So this is restricted, but it's rather widely used as far as I know. How many of you have heard of it? Okay, a bit more. So this is probably of the stuff that I show, it's the closest to becoming stable. We just need to probably run it through some bureaucracy. And it is the subcommand that is used for producing artifacts out of your Scala CLI project. So let's take this simple example and go through what's available. The default format when you try to package with Scala CLI is the lightweight launcher jar. What is a lightweight launcher jar? It's just a jar that is self-executable, and also it will download all of its transitive dependencies from within it. So it's lightweight, it's a small file. But you have to run it either with a full cache, full Calcia cache, or with an internet connection, because whatever is needed has to be fetched. Then there are the usual suspects. So there's the library jar, which is just a normal jar that you would produce with any tool. There's the assembly fat jar. So that's pretty much the same as the lightweight launcher jar, except all of the transitive dependencies are included inside of the file, so it's big. Then there's the fancier stuff, so you can produce native images with Scala CLI. With the -- native image flag, it's with GraalVM. Looks pretty much like this. And you can also build with Scala native, also producing a native image with the -- native flag, or you can, as shown in a previous slide, you can also pass it through a directive using platform. Then there's the --js, which produces a JS file, which can then be run with Node. --docker, which allows to publish to a predefined Docker image repository. And something that's experimental on 2 layers. So via Scala.js, you can actually build a WASM file with the --js emit WASM flag passed with it. This uses the experimental WebAssembly support that is in Scala.js. And if you want to test it out and run it from your command line, you can do it like this. So the result is in the main.js catalog in the directory. Inside you have the main.js file and the main.wasm file. As far as I heard, in the near future, you'll be able to run the WASM file with WASM time, but right now it's still not ready yet. So you have to run it with the JS wrapper. This example uses Deno, which is a JavaScript runtime, and we have to enable some experimental stuff here. If I recall correctly, the experimental WASM extenref enables the exception handling. And yeah, you can run it with Deno like this, and it will work. And finally, we have OS-specific artifacts. We support Debian, Red Hat, macOS, and Windows. All of these have to be run on the right platform. So if you want a macOS PKG, you have to build it on another macOS. Okay, next, export. Who has ever used an export? So you have heard that we don't officially call it a build tool. We say that Scala CLI is a prototyping tool for starting up your project or for building single module stuff, so smaller projects. But at some point, your prototype might grow large enough so that you want to actually use a proper grown-up build tool like SBT, Mill, or whatever else. And at that point, you'd probably like some tooling that would help you export it to another format. So this is where export comes in. It is experimental, and it will likely forever stay experimental for the simple reason that the tools that we export to evolve alongside with Scala CLI. It's very hard to keep those in sync, so it's very likely that some of your configuration won't get exported or that we don't support the newest stuff that is in SBT or Mill. But still, it should smoothen up your path. And let's say that if it's a simple project or if you don't use anything fancy, it will get exported. And even if you do, it still gets you started. So for this example, the default format is SBT. So when you use Scala export on a Scala CLI project, you'll create a dest folder which contains the build SBT with all of the dependencies, compiler options, and other happy path stuff that we actually do support. And also, all of your sources will get copied to a path that SBT supports. So you can see the tree of our SRC main Scala, where the hello.scala gets copied. We also support Mill with --Mill, but only up to 0.12. You might have heard that Mill recently got to 1.0. I believe there's another talk about it. So we only support it up to 0.12, waiting for a happy contributor who would like to help with 1.0, or I will get to it sooner or later, probably. So yeah, this similar to SBT creates a project with Mill. It creates a build.sc, which should be build.mill on 1.0 in the future, and that exports all of the compiler options and dependencies and Scala versions. Finally, recently we had a Maven contribution. Sorry for the small font, but I guess you'll have to trust me that the POM is valid. It exports to a bit of an old version, 3.8.1 currently, so from last year, if I recall, but it actually does work. You can export from Scala CLI directly to Maven, and it works as far as SBT and Mill do. And we have probably the stablest part of export, which is JSON. This is for any automation that you might have that would like to consume your Scala CLI configuration. So this does something as simple as printing the JSON to standard out or to a file if you define it so. Okay, Markdown inputs, Markdown support. Who has ever used the Markdown input with Scala CLI? Almost nobody. Tomasz doesn't count. Okay, so we support .md, so Markdown files, as standard inputs in Scala CLI, and you can do with it everything you can do with any other input. Same as scalascript.sc, .scala files, .java files, pretty much the same. The way it works is we read all of the snippets inside of your Markdown that are marked, tagged as Scala, And we just treat it as Scala code that would land in your project and run it, package it, whatever you use. You just need the --md flag to be enabled. So yeah, this is a simple example where we have a hello world and a simple directive defining the Scala version. And as you can see, when the markdown file is passed along with the flag, it just prints the hello world. By default, the Scala snippets are interpreted as scripts, so as if you pasted the same code into .sc. Now, of course, we can read more than one snippet inside of it. We can read any number of them, and they will be executed sequentially, and they will share the context along with it. And at the beginning of each of them, you can put directives as if you would in separate files in a Scala CLI project. But maybe you don't want the script interpretation of the snippets. Maybe you just like to treat them as raw.scala files. So just put the Scala raw tag, and they will be executed as .scala, basically. So here we define it as Scala raw in this example, and we define a main method with @main annotation. And you might notice that if the raw wasn't there, we would try to execute it as a script. And if it was the script, then Scala CLI would be confused because the main class then becomes ambiguous. Should we use the one that is annotated as @main, or should we just treat the whole script as the main class? Yeah, and we can also include tests this way. So if you tag it as Scala test, any snippet inside of your markdown will be treated as part of the test scope, and any tests included in it will be run with the test subcommand, and will also be ignored with any command that only uses the main scope. I guess it's a cool way to document your tests strictly in the markdown if you want to. And yeah, if you have a blog that is in Markdown, you can run it as a remote source with Scala CLI as you would for any other remote source. So this example shows how you can run Markdown inside of a gist. Just a side note that remote sources never had sandboxing and they still don't have it. So be careful what links you paste because we don't contain it. Okay, offline mode. Anyone has heard of offline? Okay, so if you'd like, you probably know that Scala CLI comes batteries included. It downloads everything that it can. If you miss the JVM, if you miss any of the dependencies of the local cache, it will download it. But suppose you don't want Scala CLI to do that. You don't want Scala CLI to check, verify stuff from the internet. You want it to be contained. You can just pass offline. Similar to power, you can pass it in 3 ways. So you can pass the -- offline option. You can set the environment variable. So we share this with Costia, which we also use for dependency management and many other things. So you just have to set the Costia mode environment variable to offline. Or you can pass the property dCostia mode to offline as well. Yes, and what it does, it skips everything that would reach out to the internet. Also, if you do not have the build server artifacts, then it will default your builds to server offline. It will not try to download Bloop. And nothing else will be downloaded and verified either. The problem is that you have to pre-fill your caches if you want this to actually work, because if it can't download the dependency and your project does require that dependency, then of course it will fail, right? The simplest way to pre-fill your cache, I would say, is to just run your project with the internet, ensure that everything is downloaded properly, and then when you get on that plane and don't want to use internet anymore, you will have all of that in your cache. But let's say you want to run it in a corporate environment behind a firewall and you actually want everything in place. Well, and if that's the case, then you actually need to copy the Costia cache. To prepare the Costia cache without running the whole thing, there's a couple examples here. So for example, for preparing the Scala version, you do cs install Scala with a particular version. You can install the JVM with cs Java, and you can fetch the dependencies with cs fetch. And also if you care about the build server after all, because it runs much faster if you have Bloop online, then you can use CS fetch on the Bloop front-end dependency. Yeah.
Do I have to write those commands myself, or could like Scala CLI export, export that for me?
We don't have an export for that, but in the end, you still have to copy the CLI cache manually, right? And where the CLI cache is depends on the platform that you are on. So you have to refer to CLI documentation and basically copy it yourself. We don't package a zip that would be ready to copy. It's been considered, and pretty much using Scala CLI in an isolated environment is considered a power feature, not just in the sense of -- power, but in the sense that you need to know what you're doing to do that. So you have to figure it out yourself. You have to manually type those commands to prepare your environment. Okay, publishing. Who has published something to Sonatype or anywhere else with Scala CLI? Okay, more than I thought. All right, so this is a simple example for a project that I published to Sonatype before this talk. So there are usual suspects here in the configuration. We configured the user and password, so the credentials for Sonatype, the encryption with PGP, all of the names necessary for an artifacts repository, organization name version, license, developers, all the usual stuff. And it works as you would suspect. So this is an example for when we publish it to IV local, which is the default target when you use publish local. It just compiles the project and uploads it where it should be, and then shows you a link where the files are. The targets we support are as following. So we support Sonatype, Maven Central. Some of you may have run into problems, or maybe may have had to migrate recently when the old Maven Central went EOL. And you had to change something in your configuration. So we also support Maven Central now on the new portal. You can publish your projects with Scala CLI to it. You can publish to IV2 local. You can publish to GitHub repositories. Pretty much any repository supported by COSIA with a short alias like Jitpack is supported with the same name. Any generic Maven repository works, or you can just upload to any directory on your local machine as well. And that's that. Next, Bloop commands. So these are things used to debug or communicate with the build server. So that's the process running in the background and building your files. We just have a couple. So basically, when you have to use those, that means something is wrong with your build and you don't know why, and you'd like to check what is going on. So these are shorthand for this. Scala Bloop or Scala Bloop start is just a way to check if Bloop is running, and if not, to start it. Bloop exit, probably the one that you're interested in the most, is a simple way to kill Bloop when it's not responding and you'd like it to restart. And if that didn't help, then you might need to read the output actually and see what is wrong with it. So for that we have the Scala Bloop output. Has anyone tried this outside of Tomasz? No, probably not. So whenever Bloop dies on you, you'll know what to check. And if you're interested in the newest development in Scala CLI, you might try to use the nightly. Has anyone of you used the snapshots we publish? So you can actually pass the CLI version parameter straight after the launcher. So it has to be the first option you pass when you construct a Scala CLI command. And you can pass the nightly string to it, and that will give you the latest version that we have published, and we publish every day, or however often I contribute, which sometimes isn't. It won't be on the weekend. The only thing is that I mentioned the Sonatype Maven Central stuff, so we actually have been publishing our nightlies to Sonatype, Because the address of the repository changed, if you use the nightly tag with an older version, you will get older nightlies. If you want the newest stuff, you have to be on 185. And 185, if you use the standard installation of the language, will only be available in 3.7.3. But you can install 3.7.3 RC2 today, right now. For earlier versions, you will get old nightlies. And this is a slide I added last night at a special request from people who have been working on capture checking at EPFL. So if you attended yesterday's talks, there were 3 talks that mentioned that Scala CLI will start supporting something with the standard library next week. And I hope it will. I tried to fix it last night, but it wasn't that simple. But when I do that, it will not work yet. I mean, this example will, but you won't get the standard library with capture checking with this just yet. You will have to do something complicated. You will have to use a nightly within a nightly. As in, when the new standard library support will be added for Scala 3 nightlies, it will first be only available in the Scala CLI nightly. So look at this example. We use Scala CLI version nightly to get the latest Scala CLI. And for that, we run something and we pass 3.nightly as the Scala version. This will give you the nightly of Scala 3. But for that, you need the newest Scala CLI launcher, which is 185. And yeah, that's not in a stable Scala 3 version yet. It's in 3.7.3 RC2. So you have to be really motivated to do it, but hey, you can. Yeah, if you just wait for 186, or it might be 190, you'll get a stable, and then you won't have to do this insanity. I just talked to Hamza earlier, and I thought it was a good idea for the enthusiasts of you who attended the talks yesterday, got hyped, and want to try it as soon as possible. I hope you will be able to next week. Okay, so this has been it. You should be able to find the slides under this QR code. Excluding the last slide, I will try to upload it later, but yeah, I did it last minute. Yeah, I guess now's the time for questions. So here is everything I talked about. Are there any questions?
How does Scala CLI compare to Ammonite? Are they completely different? Is there some overlap? And what are the differences or similarities?
There is some overlap in that you can use Scala CLI for running scripts and you can use Ammonite for running scripts, but I would argue that it gets more support as of recently. Ammonite isn't as developed right now as Scala CLI is. That might be biased because I maintain Scala CLI and I don't maintain Ammonite, but still I think that. Yeah, Ammonite isn't the official runner of Scala, right? Does that cover it, or?
Do they do the same things? They both run scripts, you said?
They both run scripts. They both run .sc files with a wrapper, right? Both support dependencies that you can declare inside of the source. You can declare more stuff in the Scala CLI configuration, like you can declare the platforms. Ammonite won't export to a native image, for example, the way I showed earlier. Yeah, we have a longer feature list, but I guess relisting them now, most of the stuff I showed here, I don't think Ammonite has.
Thank you.
I have a question here. Thank you very much for a very good talk. I'm quite interested in the markdown support that you have, but in the current markdown, you run the scripts, right? You don't have a flag to say, type check the thing and replace whatever was in there by the output in a new markdown file.
No, you'd probably want mdoc for that.
But I don't want mdoc because mdoc doesn't run a REPL, and for what I need, I want a REPL.
So you want to, yeah, we can run in the REPL, but we won't swap inside of a new markdown.
Can I bribe you?
I mean, you can create a ticket and then beg me for my time, and it might happen at some point, yes.
Okay, I'll try that then, thank you.
Yeah.
So I imagine many of us have been trying to sneak little bits of Scala CLI into production in our shops. but power is a bit of a weird word. It's scary, perhaps, to Scala skeptics. So, do you have some Jedi mind tricks to say, "Hey, don't worry, guys"?
So, okay, what I always tell people when they ask me should they use the power features, if you know about the power features, you should use them. And if they're experimental, you'll get a warning that you should be worried about using them. So basically, if you enable power and you don't get any special warnings, that means it's rather safe to use because it's just restricted. So it didn't get through the bureaucracy of SIP or whatever else, right? And that's safe. Whether I have Jedi mind tricks to advise you to use on your colleagues to stop worrying when they use Scala CLI, I'm not sure.
I guess it's like just curiosity, but I guess the Swiss Army knife aspect is like a virtue that many people like. At some points, though, have you looked back and said that we maybe got carried away with this or on specific features?
Right, carried away as in some of the stuff that is behind power shouldn't be behind power.
Yeah, like we need a power, or like what were we thinking? Or
Right, no, I don't think that. What I generally think is that I'm sad we don't have enough resources to push some of it to stable because I'd like to, and many of the things that I showed you, for example, package is pretty much ready. We just should do the final push, and the final push is 90% of the effort, as you know. Yeah. So I guess if your company doesn't want to use stuff that is behind power, then you just need to nag to me so that I make it stable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the talk. So my question is for the publish sock command. You have the options to specify like the repository and the credentials and all these things to publish.
Yep.
But if you want to also use like custom repository, let's say for one that your company has internally for downloading the dependencies, is there similar settings for this, or do you have to configure like explicitly Corsair externally outside of Scala CLI?
Like you have to configure all of the credentials stuff, and you have to if you need to go through a mirror or whatever, you have to configure that as well. You may have to use some Corsair internal options depending on your use case. I'll have to find out about your setup to help you. We have some docs. I believe some of it might be outdated for your particular question, but we do support such cases. If you would like to try it and run into problems, reach out to me. And if it isn't, message me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the talk, and also thank you and your team for the great tooling that you bring us. My question is, in the beginning of the talk, you said that Scala CLI is not considered as a build tool, but it's kind of close to it. So do you have any plans actually to evolve it into a full-fledged build tool? Because you showcase a lot of fancy features already. So it kind of have big package of features.
So the TLDR answer to this is no, because we want to keep it simple. Anything that's considered a part of a mature build tool, like multi-module stuff and so on, would bring the complexity that we just do not want. There have been prototypes of wrappers over Scala CLI that would give you the missing stuff so that you would have a proper build tool, mature build tool with all of the Scala CLI goodies, but it's never gone beyond POC. You may have heard about Scala Compose. So if you Google Scala Compose or dig through the Scala contributors Discord, you'll find examples that you shouldn't try alone at home. That they work, but yeah, they're not stable solutions. They're just examples of what we could do. Realistically, to bring something like that to completion, we would need a whole team and a lot of time. And there are enough build tools on the market, so right now we consider Scala CLI fulfills that niche.
Thank you.
So the time we have left, thank you.
Thank you.